Hello everybody and welcome to Wisconsin Wonder Garden. I want to thank you guys so much for taking a little bit of time out of your day in order to learn a little bit more about gardening and what we have going on here in our garden. Today we're going to be looking at the progress that our willow tree cuttings have made so far. So right here we have one of our curly willow tree cuttings planted right inside this pot. I did this for a few of the willow tree cuttings so I can make sure they get a real strong, nicely developed root system throughout the summer, and I can put them in the unheated garage throughout the winter and then bring them out in the summer again. That way I ensure that they don't die off throughout the winter because they maybe didn't get developed enough in the soil. You can see here we have lots of different stems coming up. I'm probably going to cut down to 3 main ones, these 3 right here, the tallest, right at the bifurcation of that willow cutting. Then I will take off the rest, but right now I'm keeping them on there so I get more and more energy absorption from the plant in order to get that energy directed into the roots. Looking a little bit closer, you can see this was the original cutting that we took. There was nothing else growing from it except for a couple of leaves, and now these have just taken off. These are up to several, I would say almost 2.5 feet tall. I can imagine that the growth down there in the root system is doing really well at this point. So this one is taking off in a great manner. Then looking over here in this pot, we have one growing right down below, directly in the soil, that's reaching about 1 foot high. And then this one I kept in this cup here, so I will be able to transplant it next spring. The roots are actually growing right in there. It's doing really well. I will also cut off some of these leaves as well. I will probably leave this top portion again since it's a curly willow. It'll look cool like that. I'll be taking off a couple of these, and I might even make a bonsai type of plant off of one of them. I'm not sure at this point, but you know, gardening is definitely a creative process and you always got to change your game plan at some point. Now what we're gonna do is go over in this side of the garden and show you the ones that I put directly into soil. So right here is one that we put directly into soil. It's still got some nice growth, but you can tell that it just hasn't been taking off as much as the one in the pots. That's because it's not as of a controlled environment, and when being put directly into that soil, the roots have a lot more to grow through. This soil right here is nothing but clay once you get below like 2 or 3 inches. It's still doing really well, so I'm happy with that so far. So overall, I would say that the cuttings that we took and propagated out are doing really well. They've developed strong roots. They're growing new stems and new shoots and leaves. They don't have really any sign at this point of any extreme damage or stress on the plants, so they're doing really well. If you need a reference to how I took those cuttings, I will leave a link in the description below so you guys can enjoy that video as well. One thing I want to say before I take off, I will be having a follow-up video eventually of those willow tree cuttings next spring. I will be seeing if the few that I have planted in the ground survived the winter with the developed roots. Hopefully they do. I think being covered in mulch will definitely help them out. And then I will also let you guys know how the cuttings did that I brought indoors in the unheated garage during winter. If you guys do have any sort of tree cuttings or plants that you need to overwinter to keep dormant, you want to make sure that you have an unheated garage. And oftentimes actually garages can keep a temperature that is slightly warmer than you might think. We have insulated garage doors, insulated walls, insulated ceilings and attics, crawl spaces, the whole 9 yards. So you want to make sure that if you do overwinter some plants in a garage, make sure that it stays below 40 degrees at max. If you even have to, you can crack open that garage door a little bit, just like you would a greenhouse in the summer, to let the heat out. You want to open that up to let the cold air in and keep your plants dormant throughout the winter. This was Ripley Sartain with an update of our willow tree cuttings. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great gardening adventure.